On December 24, 1945, 5 children disappeared and their bodies were never found. In the early hours of December 24th to 25th in Fayetteville, West Virginia, in the United States, the family of George and Jenny Sodder experienced a nightmare that never ended. Their house was consumed by a fire. 4 of the children escaped, but 5 disappeared without a trace. They had 10 children, Italian immigrants integrated into the local community, a father with coal trucks, a dedicated mother, a portrait of the American family of that time. And on that Christmas Eve, after a modest dinner and the promise made to the younger ones that they could stay up a little longer, fate caught up with them. Around midnight, the phone rang. It was an unknown number. Jenny answered. On the other end, a distant laugh and a voice asking for someone she had never heard of. She hung up, thinking it was a prank. She found it strange that the lights were still on and the curtains open, but she turned everything off and went back to sleep. Minutes later, she heard a loud noise on the roof. Then, the smell of smoke. The flames rose too quickly. George ran to save the children, but something was wrong. The ladder that was always leaning against the side of the house had disappeared. He tried to start his trucks to reach the roof, but both refused to start. The water barrel was frozen. It was as if all escape routes had been purposely erased. Within 45 minutes, the wooden house turned to ashes. The fire department arrived only hours later. The call system failed that night. When the firefighters finally searched the site, they found no bodies, no bones, no human ashes. For investigators and neighbors, that was simply impossible. If 5 children had died in the fire, there would be at least some trace: fragments, teeth, bone remains. The fire chief stated that the fire was intense enough to cremate the bodies completely, but experts later disagreed. A domestic fire would never reach such a temperature. The authorities blamed an electrical short circuit, but George remembered that the wiring had been recently checked. And there was something else. Shortly before Christmas, a stranger appeared, offering life insurance. When George refused, the man threatened him, saying that his criticisms of Mussolini would make him pay dearly. Soon after, the strange call, the noise on the roof, the fire. Days later, the Sodders found the missing ladder thrown far away in a ravine. The mystery only grew. Some residents said they saw people throwing fireballs at the house shortly before the fire. A dark rubber object resembling a grenade was found nearby. No one could explain what it was. Even so, the authorities issued the death certificates for the 5 children on December 30th. Cause of death, fire, or asphyxiation. The family refused to accept it. George and Jenny erected a memorial by the roadside with photos of their children and a promise: we will find them. Witnesses began to emerge. A driver claimed to have seen the 5 in a car hours after the fire, accompanied by 2 adults. A hotel owner claimed he hosted a family with 5 children that night. A waitress said she served coffee to a group of young people who looked distressed. None of these reports were confirmed. A private investigator hired by the Sodders discovered something alarming. The insurance salesman who had threatened George was part of the coroner's jury that declared the case an accident, coincidence, or cover-up. The decades passed. George died in 1969, Jenny in 1989. Until the end of their lives, they maintained the memorial and the hope that their children were still alive. The case was never forgotten. Some theories point to political revenge. George was a fierce critic of Mussolini, the Italian dictator, and this would have angered other local immigrants. Others believe in involvement by the Italian mafia or a planned kidnapping. There are also those who say the fire started accidentally and that the disappearance was merely the product of the pain and despair of a grieving family. But something always bothered independent investigators: the total absence of human remains. Even in devastating fires, something always remains. No body disappears completely. Furthermore, the trucks that mysteriously failed, the ladder moved, the frozen barrel, the sinister phone call, it all seemed part of a premeditated script. But by whom and why? In the following years, the family received an anonymous photo in the mail. It was a portrait of a young man with features similar to Louis, the second missing son. On the back, a handwritten message: Louis Sodder, I love my brother Frankie. Ill boys, A90132 or 35. No expert could confirm its authenticity. The family believed until the end that Louis was alive, but no concrete proof emerged. No clue led to an answer. Today, the land where the house stood is just a silent lawn. The memorial has been removed, but the memories remain. The Sodder fire became one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. And perhaps that is what makes it so disturbing. The fact that even without proof, without bodies, without answers, the silence continues to echo, as if those children were still somewhere, waiting to be found. The Sodder case is more than a tragedy. It is an open wound in the heart of a family, and a somber reminder that some stories never come to an end. If you found this story intriguing, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to follow our next mysterious cases. Because there are stories that time tries to erase, but the fire of mystery never goes out completely.